Hey, it's Coach Scheller. Wanted to wish you a quick Happy New Year and introduce you to a really simple exercise that will all but guarantee that you achieve every single one of your goals this year. Now, I say all but guarantee because, of course, there is no guarantee ultimately that some of those goals will come true, but we want to deconstruct the process of achieving every single one of those goals to get you as close as humanly possible to a guaranteed result. And our goal here, like I've been saying for the past few weeks now, closing in on the end of 2017, is that we want to make 2018 the best year of your life on and off the court. And this is the process that will work the best and the fastest to get you there. So I'm really excited to introduce you to it. The first thing that we're going to do is a really simple exercise using this 4-column grid here. And the second thing that we're going to do is outline a process that you can use to keep this going on a daily basis using one of these. And this is a Moleskine notebook. Any type of notebook will do. And I have personally been using this to achieve pretty much everything that I've ever achieved in my life. A lot of our top guys have used it to go on to really go from playing as bench players to making league all-star teams, Division I basketball, even playing overseas. So this one simple process can make the action of getting to a goal that's really, really far away from you right now, it can simplify it and make it a lot more attainable than it is right now. So we're going to start out using this grid. And what I want to do is sort of differentiate the various layers of goals. Most goal-setting systems, if you could call them that, stop right here. And this is the first one that we're going to do. So we're going to call this our outcome column. So what you would traditionally call goals, really just outcomes that you want to achieve this year, whether that's in 2018 or just within a predefined period of time that you can measure. So let's say by the end of 2018 in our outcome column, we want to be averaging 20 points per game. It's a pretty common goal. So we'll say 20 points per game. We might say we want to be the starting point guard. And your goals might be different. It could be whatever you want to achieve. Just write all of these out. Don't put limits on yourself. Try to make it as specific as possible. So even if it's pretty obvious, like let's say you play point guard, rather than just say, I want to start on my team, say, I want to be the starting point guard for, and then the name of your team. And all that does is it just kind of gives it that much more detail in your mind so that you can more clearly picture it. And your mind acts, we always tell our players, it sort of acts like a GPS system towards your goals. The more clear the target is, the easier it's going to be to achieve. So be as specific as possible. I'm averaging 20 points per game, starting at point guard. I want to be like a first team all-star in our league. So first team all-star. So write all of these out, okay? So you could, I typically recommend anywhere from 5 to 8 goals. It's really up to you, but we don't want to do so many that it kind of waters the process down. We don't want to have too many focuses because typically what happens in those situations is you chase too many targets and you don't get any of them. So whittle it down to say 5 to 8. And then what you want to do after listing all of these goals out is you want to attach a date to each one. So the end date, let's say I want to be averaging 20 points per game. If you're only averaging 4 or 5 points per game this season, maybe you want to attach the date of next December 31st. So by this time next year, you're going to be averaging 20 points per game and then the name of your team. You might say, I am the starting point guard on, and then the name of your team, and then the date. Could be the end of March, it could be next October. You know better than I do what that goal is for you. Just point being, list out your 5 to 8 outcome goals. Once you're done this, now obviously this is kind of where most goal setting processes stop. What we're going to do is take it a step further. The problem with outcome goals, not that you shouldn't have them, but outcome goals typically aren't totally in your control. It's not totally in your control whether or not you're the starting point guard next year, because your coach is in control of naming the starters. So we had one of our players actually who was a first team All-Star last year. I trained him personally for many years. He only started half the games for his high school team. He was a league first team All-Star. So the coaches as a collective in the league voted him a first team All-Star, top 5 player in the league. He only started half the games for his team. Why that is, I don't know, but again, it's outside of his control. He actually averaged around 20 points per game. I think it was like 18 and a half. So pretty close, and definitely starting material on his team, but it's out of his control. So point being, don't stop here because we're not totally in control of these. What we want to do is move over to the second column, which is going to be our performance goals. So our performance goals we're a little bit more in control of. And you'll notice as we move across these columns, each one we gain a little bit more control over whether or not we can achieve it. So performance goals, we basically want to outline the type of player that we are. If you could build yourself as a basketball machine, what would your statistic be? So if you're doing, let's say, the 100 test, which a lot of EGT guys are familiar with, let's say you want to score, be shooting 80% on the 100 test in training. So you're an 80% shooter in training. It might be a pretty good goal to have if you want to average 20 points per game. Maybe you want to hit like a 35-inch standing vertical. Standing, say SVJ for standing vertical jump. That's another performance goal that you are much more in control of than simply, I want to be selected as a first team All-Star, because you're not in control of that All-Star ballot. Otherwise, you'd probably already be on it. So we're going over to things we're a bit more in control of. 35-inch standing vertical. Let's say you want to be 190 pounds at, say, 8% body fat. That would be a pretty good body to have if you're, say, 6 feet tall or 6'1". You know better than anybody what these performance goals should be. But by performance, we just mean if you took a look at yourself as a basketball player, what would your specifications be? If you're programming yourself into this basketball machine, what would the specs be that you programmed into the system? So those are all of your performance goals. Once you've got all those, we're going to go back again and set dates to each and every one of those goals. And make sure that as you're setting those dates, you are keeping in mind that if you want to be averaging 20 points per game by, say, December 31st, 2018, you're going to have to be shooting 80% by probably early October 2018. You're going to need these things by early October 2018. If you have a goal to be averaging 20 points per game by the end of February, you got to do these probably in the next week or two. So keep in mind, these have to be realistic, they have to be measurable, and they need to be time specific so that you know essentially when you're going to be ready to achieve these goals. So go ahead, program your machine, make sure that you get all of your specifications right and list it out so that you know exactly what type of player you're going to be come next year or this coming year. After you've done that, we've got dates attached to everything. What we're going to do is go into, we've gone outcome, performance, now we're going to do process. So process, we are, once again, a little bit more in control of this process. And the process is, what steps are you going to take to get there? So if you want to shoot 80% next year and be an 80% shooter in training, a process that you might use is elite shooting, right? So you go through the entire elite shooting program, and that program is laid out for 6 weeks. So say by February 14th, 6 weeks from now, for the sake of the example, I've completed elite shooting. It could be as simple as, I go to the gym and train every day at 6:30 a.m. So I have a daily workout at 6:30 a.m. I might say I want to have completed 3 full cycles of EJT by the start of next season. So say October 1st or November 1st or whenever your season is. And we're using EJT examples. You can use any training system you want. Just make sure that you really nail down that process for what you're doing. Going to this one. So again, using an EGT example, you could say using elite upper body training for this goal, or you could just say simply, I lift 4 times per week. Of course, the more specific that you are with these goals, this process, the better you're going to do. So make sure that you have those programs in mind, you have everything that you need to get there. And once you have got this process in place, so this is what you're doing, you're kind of looking at your schedule at a bird's eye view. Once you've gotten this, so we have our outcome, we have our performance, we have our process, now we're going to do the knockout. This is something that you have 100% control over. The knockout goal is something that you're going to do to take you one step further towards this goal right away. So within the next 24 hours, you're going to do this thing that's going to make this more or less inevitable. So if you want to be lifting 4 days per week, a knockout goal might be to go down to the YMCA and get a gym membership in the next 24 hours. Okay, that's the knockout goal. If you knock that one out, it makes this that much more likely to happen. If you don't have elite shooting yet, maybe that goal is to get elite shooting. If you, let's say you aren't sure where the gyms are going to be open, the knockout goal is to find out the gym schedule for the coming week and pencil in on your calendar all of the days that the gym is open and what time you're going to go and do that. A process goal, let's go back here. So we have 4 times per week for upper body training. We did the YMCA, EJT. It could simply literally be to schedule in your workouts. So schedule in your workouts for the coming week. One more knockout goal that I will offer you is what we'll call the notebook. The notebook, or the journal, or whatever you want to call it, it's one of these. I use a black moleskin notebook. I have like stacks and stacks of these around the house, but you can use anything you want. And the notebook is what we'll use to revisit this process on a daily basis. So when you open up your notebook, you'll have 2 sides, okay, just like this. And what you're going to do is each and every day, I'll actually, to make it easier, I'll erase this so you can go back and rewatch this video if you need to revisit the process, but I want to show you something that will make this notebook more effective. So every day before you go to sleep, you're going to end off your day with a process that we do inside this notebook. So we're going to take all of our outcome goals and performance goals. So all of the major things. One of them was, I think, 20 points per game. So we're going to write those goals out. I do it right here, but you can do it, in any way that you want. Organize it in any way that you want. The way that I've found, I'll draw it out for you really quickly. Hopefully you can see. The way that I've found, if the notebook is sectioned off here, in this part, I have written out my goals, okay? So in this part of the notebook, and I always do it in this way. Using the example of scoring 20 points per game, we might say, I am averaging 20 points per game before December 31st, 2018. And one thing we could even do to make this more specific, if you know the name of the team that you'll be playing on around this time, you could say, I'm averaging 20 points per game for, and I'll use my high school for SJAM, before December 31st, 2018. We're going to go through all of our major goals, all of our outcome goals, and all of our performance goals. So again, could say I am jumping 35 inches from a standing position. It's probably a bit more complex than you need to say. I have a 35-inch standing vertical would be better. Before, or you could say on, whichever one resonates for you best. Let's say October 1st, 2018. So I don't expect you to read my writing or be able to read it. It's not quite legible, but hopefully you get the idea. Every night before bed, you're going to write out all of those goals in longhand. This has a really, really cool subconscious impact on your mind. And it's kind of one of those things that you don't notice it as it's happening, but as you go throughout your life, again, we're tuning that GPS. Like I said earlier, our mind is like a GPS system for our goals. So the more specific, the more detailed you can make it, and the more often you can revisit where that target is that you're trying to hit, the more likely it is for you to actually hit that target. And writing these goals out in this way is going to make them a lot more likely to come true. You're like tuning that GPS every single night and fine-tuning it. And the process of writing these out in a specific way, ultimately the goal is that as you're writing it out, you actually can feel it in your body, like sort of an emotional reaction to the goal. You get a bit excited. And what happens is, without getting into too much detail, the more emotion is behind a goal, the more neurons fire in our mind. And when our mind fires up like that, it sort of grooves these pathways that make actions towards that goal more easy. So you're going to be that much more motivated to get up in the morning and go ahead with what we're going to get into next, which are basically your process and your knockout goals. So once you've done this, you've written out all of your goals, what we're basically going to be doing up here is writing out our process and our knockout goals. Generally just our knockout goals. So every day we're going to have those process goals in mind, the program and structure that we're following to become the player that we want to be. And then you're going to have a series of knockout goals that will take you one step further towards that. So it might be you have an EJT workout tomorrow, you have like an elite shooting workout, and you have a team practice. So let's say TP, team practice. So you'll write all of them out on this section of the paper. And again, I'm just showing you how I do it. You can rearrange it however you like. This is just what I've come to over the years. So you write out all of your knockouts. I would advise you to also, within your performance goals, include the other things that you want to accomplish in your life. So like one for me currently is I'm working on becoming totally conversationally fluent in Spanish. So one of my goals is that by the end of this summer, I will be able to have full-blown conversations in Spanish in South America. So I'm not restricted to like my lifting and my basically the performance that I have on the basketball court or gym. It's everything in your life. So if you have a goal to average 90% in math this year, one of your knockout goals might be to finish off that math assignment or that homework or whatever it might be. So include all aspects of your life. And we're going to pull from this to plan our day. All right? And this really doesn't take as much time as you might think. It's quite fast, 5 to 10 minutes each night. And we're just going to write out our schedule for the day. So, you wake up, go to the gym, go to class, maybe you're lifting at lunchtime, you go back to class in the afternoon, team practice after school, and EJT at night, something like that. So whatever your schedule is, you're just basically going to pencil in that entire schedule step by step. The last thing that you're going to do, and this is on this side of the sheet of paper, you don't have to do this forever, but I really recommend that you do it in the first month or so of drilling down this habit. you're going to actually write out what you did. So you're going to have a clear view of what your plan for the day is here. What you're going to do on this side is write out what actually happened. This is where things get interesting, because a lot of the time, especially in the first little while, if it's not being tracked, you're not going to adhere to that plan as closely as you wanted to. So as soon as this element is introduced, it's frankly, it's kind of frustrating knowing that we already know what we're supposed to do, but until we're kind of holding ourselves accountable, the likelihood of that plan getting done exactly is a lot lower. So for the first month or so, I really strongly recommend that you list out what actually happened that day right here. And you're going to find that that has a big impact on your productivity and your ability to execute on your plan. So just this simple process will kind of deconstruct the whole path from where you are right now to where you want to get to by the end of 2018. And I'm really glad we could share it with you. Again, this has been shared with thousands of players in EGT. Our guys have used it to accomplish some pretty cool stuff. I have myself used it to accomplish everything that I've accomplished, and I hope it works well for you as well. So if you ever need anything, we're here. Hit us up in the comments. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us. We got your back for as long as you need us, we're here to help you become the player that you've always wanted to be. And this process is a really good starting point. So do this now, create those 4 columns, fill in all of your goals, make sure they're dated, get yourself a notebook, and start doing this process at nighttime before you go to sleep. It's like 5 to 10 minutes a day, and that 4-column exercise won't take you more than half an hour or 45 minutes maybe. And it's a small investment to make, and you would be shocked at how big of a difference this simple exercise will make in your life. So I'm glad we could share that with you. As always, let us know if you need anything at all. We're here for you, and we'll talk to you again in the next video.